Hello, my fellow friends from countries across the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second Environet series of Energi Karya Indonesia. On behalf of Energi Karya Indonesia, I, Raffi Muhammad, as General Manager of Energi Karya Indonesia, would like to say thank you and a very warm welcome to you, our distinguished participants from various countries. As I can see here, there are friends from Indonesia, Malaysia, and Mongolia, Myanmar, India, and so on.
This is the time of crisis. Climate crisis doesn't respect borders. It doesn't respect who you are, rich and poor, or small and big. It permeates everything, irrespective of our system of nation states and public and private sectors. As such, it's exactly the kind of challenge multilateralism was designed for, if we choose to rise to the occasion. So we have to take action together. Effective climate action must be equitable, fair, and aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals. Mitigation and adaptation impact population differently. A whole of society integrated approach is needed to ensure climate action encourage social inclusion rather than discord. Climate action must ensure that each part has its own voice and role, including youth, indigenous communities, and other vulnerable or marginalized population. This movement, emerging from the bottom of the world pyramid, led often by communities and remarkable individuals, are today showing the way to the future. So we have to create collaborative platform for the social environment ecosystem to give more meaningful impact together. As a youth with full of energy and full of creation, we can choose what we can do as academia, as a business, or as a community. We know we cannot continue with the status quo. We must do more and do it faster. Every fraction of degree matters. Every year matters. Each and every decision matters. I hope our discussion here today will go some small way toward improving youth leader and change maker around climate action. Thank you, and let's collaborate with Energi Karya Indonesia.
First up, we have Ms. Hui Mian Lim from Malaysia. She's an independent consultant focusing on climate change, gender, and climate finance. She is actively involved in the women and gender constituency of the UNFCCC.
So what happened to the ownership of land of indigenous people when it is their native land? This is an issue. Next slide, please. Finance and investment. Without money, all best intention will just remain documents or proposals. It is important that climate finance also is accessible at the grassroots, especially grassroots women's organizations, indigenous peoples and local communities, because this is where the people are affected by climate change and they need the money for climate action and for real solution, which they know. And it is important mitigation and adaptation projects and programs.
Our next speaker, we have Ms. Osa Dahini Rama Pamila from Indonesia. She is the head of the Eco-Socialpreneur Department at BAG Indonesia, owner of Life and Co Zero Waste bulk store.
In order to save our Earth, we have to take control of how many carbon footprint that we produce every year. Can we reduce our carbon footprints? The answer is, of course we can. We can reduce our carbon footprint by implementing sustainable consumptions and sustainable productions. Next, please. Yep. What is sustainable consumptions and production? Okay, these are some actions that we can do to start our sustainable consumptions. The first is we have to shop our local products. By shopping our local products, we may reduce greenhouse gas emissions that came from this distribution process. And the second, we can use green or renewable energy to reduce the burning fossil fuels or something like that to our electricity.
Our last speaker will be Mr. Raid Roshan Ali from Fiji. He's an environmental activist, currently the national coordinator of Precious Plastic Fiji.
The challenges that young people face when it comes to implementing offsetting carbon emissions. So the first challenge is overdependence on fossil fuels. So over 75% of the world's energy comes from burning fossil fuels. This is a reality that we all have to come to terms with before we decide to even tackle an issue of this magnitude. And a lot of times, young people who choose to take on issues as big as this get intimidated by our over-reliance. The second issue that young people face when they want to target their carbon emissions is depletion of carbon sinks.
My question is related to climate change. I want to ask, like, there are a lot of policy makers there, and how it could be impacted, like how higher education is playing their role in climate change and their policies. Is there any proper infrastructure, or is there any proper kind of policies for higher education institute so that we can follow up? Like, being an environmentalist, we are supposed to work on specific profiles of policies. So how higher education is going to play their role in policy, climate change policies? Thank you very much.
I think the probability would be higher at research universities than compared to universities that are particularly dedicated to liberal arts or some other form of education. And in core programs which have more science and social science courses at public universities and in different states, I think this is one of the key things which would push people to educate themselves on climate change.
Talking about online shopping, it is right that online shopping may produce more plastic, like plastic wrap, bubble wrap, and other boxes. But if we looking for other packaging, such as the leaves or coconut, and we can use other natural packaging, we can give a solution for that packaging. But my suggestion is we have to reduce our habit in doing online shopping.
I have actually worked on a report based on the findings from Nepal. So the issue in Nepal is, yes, agriculture is affected due to drought, especially. And agriculture practice nowadays is mainly using fertilizers.
Today, in terms of familiarizing with the different environmental policies in place, our roles and potentials to help implement them, to practice different forms of mitigation and adaptation for a more eco-friendly and sustainable future.